couldn't even do that in Canada right now, so there's that. But I'm so happy to be here. I love speaking at these events. I believe I'm the only female speaker. I identify as a woman. I believe I'm the only female speaker at this event. So I know that some of the protesters were mad that this was called AlphaCon because it was about white supremacy and males. I am white, clearly, but I am a female and I am an alpha, and I know there's a lot of women in here who are alpha females, so never get that confused. I also want to say, obviously I do conservative commentary. Make no bones about it. I am unabashedly conservative. I'm really happy if you are unabashedly liberal, even if you voted for Joe Biden. But after the event, we need to square up some receipts because there's a lot of stuff going on in this country that I'm paying for that you voted into office. So, proud of you for your political beliefs, and you should all be proud of your political beliefs, but things aren't going great right now. Yeah, let's go, Brandon. I also want to applaud you guys for being here on a Saturday. This is an event, but it is also a work event. You are working on the weekend. Our president, I'm sure, is not. So it's a good thing that you guys are out here bettering yourself and wanting to do something great. But I will say this. I don't care if you're a liberal. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you voted for Joe Biden. I don't care if you vote for Hillary Clinton. I don't care. I'm a conservative. If you're a liberal, that's great. Don't care. What I care about is empowering people to stand up for themselves and to have confidence in whatever they do. And I've heard a lot of your other speakers talk about business, talk about Bitcoin, talk about being entrepreneurs. That's great. I'm not necessarily in business. I do conservative political commentary, which in and of itself is a bit of a business. But I will say this, a lot of you will have confidence in what you do for a living, but that will be where your confidence ends. And for women, that's particularly a problem. I'm not a feminist, but I will say women seem to have a difficult time. They can be the strongest woman in business, they can be the most alpha female or male in that room, but that's where their confidence ends, and that's why you're holding yourself back. You need to have confidence in every area of your life. It needs to be a 360 approach. You need to be proud of what you do, you need to be proud of who you are, and most importantly, you need to be proud of what you believe in. I'm very proud of what I believe in, but I don't care if you and I disagree on our beliefs. We can have completely opposite philosophies. You can be a raging Democrat, a socialist, I don't care. I hope that you're proud of what you believe in, and I hope that you can defend it. And I hope when someone asks you what you believe in, I hope that you answer loudly and proudly. No more of this silent majority bullshit. No more of this, I appreciate what you do, I appreciate you for speaking up, but I just could never do that. Bullshit, you can't. That confidence approach that we talk about is in everything that you do. Now that doesn't mean that you go out and you put your political beliefs in everybody's face, you walk around with a MAGA hat, or you have to wave an American flag in someone's face. You don't have to do that. I wouldn't expect you to do that. I don't do that. And I'm about as conservative as it gets. What I'm talking about is every time that you're in a situation where you feel like you have to hide what you believe in, whether it's around friends, family members, co-workers, maybe future business partners, every time that you sit there and say, boy, they're all talking about their political beliefs, but I'm afraid that mine might not align with theirs, so I'm just going to be quiet. You are effectively censoring and canceling yourself. Now, if you're a liberal and you do this, please don't. If you're a liberal, please be proud of your liberal beliefs, because then why else would you have them? But the thing about it is, liberals do this so much better. I have rarely ever met a liberal who has ever been afraid to say what they believe and stand for it. Conservatives, we do a horrible job at this. Conservatives, we say, well, I can be conservative around my church group, I can be conservative around the conservative moms at the school or our little secret groups, but heaven forbid I ever tell anybody that I'm a conservative or I voted for Trump or this is my belief system. Heaven forbid anybody else who might not like it hears what I am and what I believe. Why are you canceling yourself? Why are you so afraid of offending people who have absolutely no problem offending you? And they shouldn't. If that's what their belief is, and they believe it strongly, then you should be able to articulate it, and for heaven's sake, you should be able to stand in it and be proud of it. Because otherwise, you probably don't really hold that belief. Now, this is a fine line. It doesn't mean that you have to go out of your way to insult people, or to degrade people, or to demonize people, but you need to have conversations. And that's part of the problem. And I think this goes along not only with politics, but it also goes in line with business. We need to be able to talk and communicate with one another, but the problem is in this country there is such a political divide that's being exploited, quite frankly, by the mainstream media. There's such a political divide that people don't want to talk to each other and they don't want to exchange ideas that may be controversial, might ruffle a feather, might make people think differently of them, might expose them for what they believe. If you believe it, stand in it and stand proudly in it. And then that person that disagrees with you, welcome it. Welcome the conversation. If you're a conservative that only talks to conservatives, you are limiting yourself. Not only politically, not only professionally, but personally, you are limiting yourself. If you are a liberal who will only speak and talk to liberals, you are limiting yourself. You are limiting the conversations that you could have, and quite frankly, you are limiting your potential in your business or whatever dream and endeavor you want to go after, simply because you only want to be with people who think like you, or you're afraid of being with people who don't think like you because you're terrified they might find out that you have differences. Celebrate your differences. That is what this country is about. And there are many, many generations of Americans who have fought for that. Republican, Democrat, white, black, brown, what have you. LGBT, straight, it doesn't matter. There are generations of Americans that have put their life on the line to protect and defend your right to speak what you believe and to be proud of it. And every time you don't do that, every time you are so afraid to say something, you are limiting yourself, and quite frankly, you're limiting the conversation in this country. We need more of it. We need to be able to talk to each other and have this discourse and have these disagreements and be able to shake hands at the end of the day and say, we disagree on this, but we had a great conversation and I respect you for having it. I do a lot of events and I'll inevitably have liberals that come up and they want to say something to me and they want to say something mean or derogatory and they expect that I'm going to not answer the question or that I'm going to have them escorted out or that I'm going to crumble and be upset. I appreciate the fact that you were able to stand up, even if you have a disgusting question. I appreciate the fact that you were at least man or woman enough to ask it. Because at least you have more intestinal fortitude than a lot of folks that would just sit there and shut up. A lot of folks that will come up and say, oh, I agree with you, but unfortunately I can't say anything, I might lose my job. What we're going through in this country right now is a perfect example of that. I don't care where your political beliefs lie, we should all believe in freedom. If you're an American, you should believe in freedom. If not, there's a lot of other countries you can go to that would limit that, and you should try to find them. Speaking of that, are there any Canadians in here at all? Any Canadians? Anyone that knows a Canadian? Anyone that likes the Canadian team? I mean, whatever. The Canadians beat us to the frickin' punch. How did that happen? They're standing up for their values and their belief system, and they did it before the United States of America was able to do it. And right now they've got their government hampering their freedom of speech. And we've got our federal government that's not really saying much about it because guess what? They want to bring that here next. So that's why they're real quiet about it. But those people are out there and they are willing to risk their lives, their jobs, their professions. They're willing to risk it all. They're going to freeze their bank accounts, but you know what? They believe in something. It might not be what you believe in. You might think the Freedom Convoy is stupid. You might think that COVID restrictions are great. I don't care. You should respect people that are willing to stand up peacefully and fight for not only their rights, but your rights as well. We're at a time in this country and in the world, really, where we've been hemorrhaging our rights and freedoms for over 2 years now. We've been willy-nilly giving them away. And now a lot of us are pissed we're not getting them back. What the hell did you think was going to happen? You gave them away. And now you want to bitch you don't have them back? No, we allowed this to happen. We can fix it, but that goes hand in hand with what I'm talking about, that confidence to be able to stand for something, that confidence to be the one that says, you know what, my job is mandating that I get the vaccine, and I personally don't want to get the vaccine, so maybe I'm going to stand up and take a risk for what I believe in. A lot of people don't have the intestinal fortitude to do it, but I feel like because of you being in this room, you've already committed yourself to having a little bit of intestinal fortitude. You're either great or you want to be great or you want to be greater. So you might have a little intestinal fortitude already within you to even come into a situation in a room in a conference like this one. So we need to be able to stand up for what we believe in. We need to be able to take a risk to do that. There are kids right now, and I'm sure a lot of you have children or you have nieces or you have nephews. There are children in some states that still go to school with a face diaper strapped ear to ear. And a lot of their parents don't like it. But a lot of their parents don't want to be the one that goes to the school board meeting because they want that other parent to do it. And that's not just political, that's not just about masks and COVID restrictions. How many times have you wanted to change something, but you sit back and you hope maybe somebody else will do it? but that somebody else will stick their neck out on the line, and they'll be the ones that'll fight for what I wish I could fight for, but I'm too scared. Well, it's going to take people like you to be those ones that stick their neck out on the line. Maybe you don't want to do it for COVID restrictions. Maybe you don't want to do it for politics. Maybe you want to do it for your business. You might have to take a damn risk. You might have to put yourself out there. And you know what? It might not go well. You might lose something. You might risk something, and you might actually lose it. Which brings me to a story. There's a young girl that I mentor. She's a middle schooler in Seattle. She was kicked out of class because she refused to wear a mask. 2 years in, she's kicked out of class. They moved her to remote learning. She said, okay, I'll do remote learning. Then they told her, no, you're not able to do remote learning either. We're going to start disenrolling you from your classes. You can't even take them online anymore because you won't follow the mask requirement. You're endangering others by not wearing your mask at home in remote learning. Makes no sense, but they're trying to bully her into coming back to class and wearing the mask. And she says, you know what, Tommy, what do? I'm a middle schooler. I'm on the cheer team. I had straight A's, but now they're even disenrolling me from my online classes. I might fail out of my grade. And I said, listen, this is a personal choice that you have to make. But I'll tell you this, someday you're going to be able to turn around when the world is laughing at themselves for everything that they put up with and all the bullshit they went through. And you're going to be able to stand there at 12 years old and say, I stood for something. And I flunked a grade for it. But don't tell me this girl's not going to be successful in whatever she does. And she said, you know what? Let them flunk me. I'm not wearing a mask because I don't believe that it even has scientific basis that this face diaper is even helping anybody. They've already said it's medical grade, it's not helping us, so I'm just doing this because I'm submitting to control, and I don't want to be that person that does it. And at 12 years old, she's got more intestinal fortitude and more balls than most of the grown-ass Americans living in our country. We need more people like her. And we need more parents like hers that say, stand for something, even if it means losing everything. Stand for something. Woo! Look at me and roll your eyes. Well, she's just that conservative commentator. I don't believe what she says politically, so I'm going to write off everything she says, and that's fine. But I want you to know I don't care what you believe in. I want you to believe it wholeheartedly and fully, and I want you to stand for it, even if I disagree with it. Because that means something to me. It means that you have as much passion as I have, and I'd rather that you be passionately liberal than ignorantly complacent, complicit, and indifferent. We've become a culture of indifference, and that's not great. That's not great for your business, that's not great for your family, that's not great for your personal life. And before I take questions, because I love being able to take questions, I want to say too, because I really appreciate being able to speak to women. I really appreciate being able to speak to those female entrepreneurs out there that want to make their dreams a reality, and they have to deal with a lot more. You know, I tell my fiance this all the time. I'm no feminist, but I'm not going to lie to anybody and say it's not hard sometimes to be a woman. Now, when I say hard, I mean this. There are obstacles that come along with it. There are certainly pluses and perks that come along with it, but there are obstacles. Women do have to do a little bit more to be taken seriously in a political environment, in a professional environment. That is just the fact of the matter. And I'm the least feminist person you'll probably ever talk to, but that's the fact of the matter. So for the women that are sitting in this room, know that you might have to battle through a little bit more, but you're going to be able to do it and stand on your own 2 feet in your own heels and say, I did it and I overcame obstacles. Same thing with all other groups that might have to work just a little bit harder. You can either be a victim or you can be empowered. You can either look at people and say, I have all these things stacked against me, so that is why I am mediocre. Or you can say, I have all these things stacked against me, and I beat them, and I'm doing better than you, and you had less struggle than me, so I'm fucking awesome. And that is the place that you want to be. It's so easy to say, that person has it better than me, that person has it easier, that person doesn't have the struggles that I have. True. We don't know the struggles other people have. Some people battle with things that you might not understand. Some people can have all the money and the best family in the world, and they battle things that you might not have any idea about, and they might actually be battles that are harder than yours. So they might be addiction, they might be infidelity, they might be marital problems, family problems, what have you. It might be depression. It might be things that they're battling that they wish they had your battle, and vice versa. So you can either sit there and say, oh, well, that person's got it better and that person's achieving more because they have less to confront. Or you can say, I have more to confront and I'm going to even do better than that person, and we can sit next to each other in a room at the same table, and I can look at those individuals and say, you have it a little easier, but we're sitting at the same table, aren't we? People say that to me all the time. Well, you're young, what the hell do you know? You're 29 years old. Why should you be on Fox News? Why should you have your own show? Why should you do this? Well, why shouldn't you? I just did it. That's the difference. You want to belittle me because of my age. You want to tell me I'm here because I'm blonde or because I'm pretty, and then other people tell me I'm ugly. I get it all. But you want to belittle me, but I'm sitting at the same fucking table that you're at. So which one of us is a loser? Because I'm still sitting here, aren't I? And all the things you want to throw at me, but I'm still sitting here, aren't I? That's the mentality you need to have. You are not a victim, you are nobody's victim, and it will empower you in no way to be a victim. And for those women out there, I hope that you stand strong, and I also hope, if this is your path and this is something that you want to do and you want to have a partner in that life, never let your partner limit you. Because if you're with a man who is afraid to be with a strong woman, it's because he's for damn sure not an alpha, and probably not much of a man either. So find a man that's willing to stand next to you, and I've heard other speakers talk about this, other male speakers, and say, don't limit the women in your life, let them shine. That is the damn truth. Because if you are a strong woman, they're going to tell you you're intimidating, they're going to tell you you're bossy, they're going to tell you you're bitchy, all these things. That's men who are intimidated by you and your power. And if you find the right man, they're not going to be intimidated by it, they're going to be inspired by it, and you're going to do wonderful things together, and you're going to let each other shine. So never be with a loser who wants you to be less than. It's because they're a beta, they're not an alpha. Don't be with a beta. We have a little bit of time because I have to fly back to Nashville, another great free city and a great free state of Tennessee, but I want to take some questions if you guys have them in the little bit of remaining time that I have. I think they have a microphone in the middle. And I hope somebody will ask a question, because sometimes it takes the one person to ask a question and other people will too. Usually that's on college campuses, but sometimes other groups as well.
So my little sister wanted to be here, but she couldn't. So she's like just awesome. I'm like, whew. And she's like got brothers, and we're all just like doing stuff, and she freaking does stuff with her life. And I think she's felt like people say you're bossy, you're loud, you're annoying. And so she struggled with that. She's even had like boyfriends that I think are straight douchebags, and that you want to belittle that. And so I don't even know what my question is, but I'm recording it, and I would just love if you would speak to that. So you even just mentioned a little bit, but if you just speak to that experience, because I'm sure you felt some of the same.
It's difficult sometimes, and we're in different eras of our life, I think, that you go through different chapters, and then you look back, just like the young girl I was talking about that was willing to flunk out of a grade. Sometimes it's hard to go through it when you're in it, but when you look back on it, I mean, I've been through a lot too. I was at 24 years old when I got fired from a network and had to fight a lawsuit with money that I probably didn't have, to pay lawyers with money I probably didn't have at the time. And it seemed like a real choice I had to make, but I look back on it now, and it was such a season in my life where I learned so much. And I also find that the people that try to limit you, people that try to limit your sister, people that try to talk down, they're trying to really gaslight her, and they're projecting their insecurities on her. They wish that they were strong and loud and bold. They're not. So instead of being strong and loud and bold, they have to try to make her feel badly for it. Tell her to stick to her guns, because she might be sitting there 5-10 years from now, and she might be running a company, or she might be a doctor, or she might be a lawyer, she might own her own business and do amazing things. Stick with it. The people that are chirping in your ear are the people that are jealous of you. Let them be jealous. Keep doing what you gotta do.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything you've said so far. Awesome stuff. I'm recording this with my mom. She lives in Chicago. She freaked out when she found out I was going to be near you. She's like a huge fan. What would you suggest people like her in an unfriendly place when it comes to conservatism, right? She's in a situation that she can't move. She can't move to Florida, Nashville, Utah, where it's a haven for freedom. What would you tell someone like her to do in order to at least attempt to make a difference, to stand for what she believes in and knows is right?
I think it's sometimes as easy as just making your beliefs be known, and finding that once you let your beliefs be known, you realize that there are a lot more people that hold those beliefs as well. I lived in California for several years, and it was miraculous to me, because every time I would be in an Uber, or every time I would talk to somebody at a workplace or a business place, I would think that they would probably be liberals because we're in California, and come to find out either they knew who I was, or just hearing them speak, they were conservative. But the problem is, every conservative in a liberal place feels like they are the minority, or feels like like they are the odd man out, when in actuality, if all the conservatives would just be a little bit louder, they would realize maybe they're not the majority, but they're for damn sure not the minority that they thought that they were. So it's about standing for yourself and your beliefs, and the great thing happens when you get a little older is it becomes a little bit easier because you care less about what other people think. And I find this, people are always afraid to offend people, usually with their conservative values or who they voted for. They're so afraid to offend people until one day they just do it, and then they never go back the other way. I've rarely heard a story of someone that said, you know what, I had it, these people were saying this and that and the other, and I finally said, I'm a conservative, I believe in this. I've rarely ever heard them tell me, that's the only time I ever did that. No, then they become empowered to do it over and over and over and over again, and it's really empowering feeling when people know where you stand. I have that enjoyment in my life is people damn know where I stand. I don't have to tell people where I stand, they already know, it comes with me. But it's an empowering feeling because I don't have to worry about people finding me out. I just live it. I would encourage her to live it, and she'll never go back the other way.
Real fast, I'm not afraid to share my beliefs, and my friends and people around me, they know that. What would you suggest doing when you're talking to someone who's essentially a brick wall? They don't want to hear facts, they don't want to hear truth, they just want to care about what they feel, right? I know it's not my job to convince people, but how do you handle those and try to promote genuine conversation instead of just talking one way?
Realistically, there are people that you will never get to, there are people that you will never reach, and that's on both sides. Quite frankly, it is. I talk about the issue because some of my conservative beliefs, I get a lot of flack. I was at U of A and I got a lot of flack by conservative college kids who said, why do you support Caitlyn Jenner? And I'm sitting here on trial for the fact that I support somebody who, quite frankly, has always been very, very kind to me. I'm having to sit here telling conservatives why I'm nice to somebody. I'm never going to explain to you why I believe the way I believe. There are people that will be unreachable on both sides. I think the best thing that you can do is approach people with a willingness to have the conversation, and it might seem like they're a brick wall, but I've found this more often than not when people expect me and they speak to me and they expect me to be like this evil, cold, aggressive bitch, and then they realize that I'm not really that way. Maybe they might not agree with me politically, but at least their mind is opened a little bit to the fact that I'm an actual human being, and then the conversation comes a little easier after that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Of course.
I wanted to talk to you. It was, I've seen you on social media a few times, and I was like, holy snap, that woman got fired up. And it was fun watching that. So my question is where do you get your fire from? Because, it's hard not to scroll and then see you going, then you're like, you have to stop, and then, you're hooked because you have to watch the whole script. I'm just curious where it comes from.
I think we all have passion within us and we all need to ignite. I've always just been somebody who has had it. But for me, the funny thing is when I'm talking about social media, if I post something and I post a commentary on something and some people will comment like, why are you angry all the time? First of all, I'm not angry all the time, but when people are talking about taking away rights and freedoms and those things, quite frankly, it pisses me off. If people degrade law enforcement officers, quite frankly, it pisses me off. I don't have the ability to shut that off. That's why I do it. I think we all have it. And then we might not all have it in a way. Some people don't like public speaking, they don't like expressing themselves with the passion, but I believe everybody has a passion, and it's just about finding it, and once you find it, I think that it will really elevate everything that you do. But I appreciate you watching, that means a lot to me. Thank you. And I always like to say this, sometimes I'm talking to more political groups, I often open with it, but any of you who have or have family members in law enforcement or the military or border patrol or any of those law enforcement functions, thank you so much for what you do, what your family members do, the sacrifice that you make. Those people protect and defend us every single day, and they're going through a really hard time right now. They're being demonized, and they're being ambushed, they're being shot, and they're being killed at alarming rates, and it needs to end. So for those of you in law enforcement families, or those of you that quite frankly just give a damn about law enforcement and the humans behind that badge and uniform, thank you for all that you do, and that's another thing we need to know about.
Hi, my name is Erin Moore from here in Salt Lake. I just wanted to follow up on this gentleman's comment about his young sister and how important it is for well-spoken, outstanding women to be around other women like that. And I wanted to ask you what groups you could maybe suggest for me as well as his sister of him being able to recommend core groups of women that have like-minded beliefs to be around so that she can be a little bit bolder in who she is.
Yeah, so I speak at a lot of, and for younger people, for high school, college kids, there's TPUSA, which I'm a big supporter of their organization on college campuses. Of course, that's more conservative. But I was talking to the organizers of this event, I think there does need to be an Alpha Con for women. I think there needs to be more events for women. Not that men aren't important, we love men, but there's something very strong about getting women together. They don't even have to be like-minded. I think it's even better when you have women or men that have different political views, but all have the same goal of either bettering their business or bettering their country, and coming together in an event like this is a great one and a great start. And the people that you meet here, the people that you meet in those kind of events, I think that it's really powerful, so that's why I appreciate being here. But there's a lot of great events, and I think the biggest thing in forming your own group of people is, like I said before, being louder, being more proud of what you believe in. You attract people that gravitate towards leaders who are also proud of what they believe in, and maybe just needed somebody to be the leader in the outspoken one. But I'm glad that you're one of those people.
Oh, I love that about you too. Find me after this, and I will give you my cards, and then maybe I can look at coffee with your sister.
Thank you.
I'm not apologizing. I know I speak a lot and I'm loud. There's a reason for that, and I'm not sorry about it. I have been told also many times, I'm too old, I'm too sexual. Oh, you asked for that rape, didn't you? Or you asked to be groped. You asked for it because you approach the world with such an intense energy. We think you're just asking for it. And so I teach a lot about permission and consent for women, because obviously we carry a more feminine structure. There are some women that are badass and they're out there lifting weights because we've been wounded by men who will not stand up and actually honor us with awe and respect and reverence for what we do and who we are. And so my question for you is, how can we rally to come together? Because I left a marriage of 20 years to be who I am, to find who I am, to heal from a rape, to heal from many things, as many of you have many things you're healing from. We take our pain and we turn it into compassion. And I have chosen not to fight my ex for money. I have many passions. I've learned about energetic facilitation and neuro-linguistic reprogramming now for 17 years. I've witnessed many miracles and have been a vessel for that healing energy. And I will not fight for gripped money. I will not do it. I will not spend my time with a lawyer to fight for gripped money. I was taken advantage of. I stayed home for 20 years with my children. I did put my gifts into my family. So I married very young. I married in a religious mind. I have stepped out of religion. What I am looking for is support from men. I need men in my life that are actually willing to walk next to my side rather than 30 feet ahead of me. I appreciate and love my ex-husband. I would get dished all the time, being a bearer of life. And I have also been told many times the things that I just spoke. And so what I'm hoping for is men that are willing to stand up and help women arise into their power. That male support is so powerful. It's a divine masculine support that it's like the way of the superior man. He's willing to own himself as the divine masculine and step up next to a woman and help her shine and be a protector for her. So she doesn't have to do all of that for herself. I mean, obviously we do. We stand up in our masculine, our feminine power. But we are here on this planet for a reason together. The men support and give the woman awe and respect. She goes and she shines, and then she helps him in return shine. So that's what I'm hoping to be connected with, is men that are willing to walk by my side. Because right now, I don't really have so much of that. So, anyway, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's difficult, and I appreciate your statement. I just to kind of dovetail off of that. I think a lot of women in this room have had that issue, whether they're dating or whatever. It's really hard when you're a strong woman to find somebody that isn't the person in the corner just holding your purse, and it also isn't the person that thinks less of you or wants you to dim your shine. It's hard to find, but it's always worth waiting until you find it, and you're never in too deep to get rid of somebody that is dead weight. Get rid of them, shine, and you will find people that will be gravitationally pulled to you, and it's just about standing in exactly what you believe in and never apologizing for it. So I think being unapologetically feminine, unapologetically strong, unapologetically alpha, I think you attract that. And so I think it might just be a matter of time. But I appreciate your story, and thank you for sharing it with us.
Hi, Tommy. Thank you very much for taking the time to come to this event. My question is specific to media. So I think everybody here is really frustrated with mainstream media. And for me, I'm frustrated equally on both sides of mainstream media sometimes because I feel like the extremes get so crazy on both sides of mainstream media. And so I kind of wanted to hear your perspective on what incentive structures need to change within the media atmosphere in order to help us get back to real conversations like you were talking about earlier, being able to have a conversation with someone that you disagree with and actually have, be able to shake hands at the end of it and be respectful, because I feel like mainstream media right now is dividing more than uniting.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I think that it certainly is a problem. But I always find when people talk about that, because I hear it a lot, and because I'm in the media, people say, oh, well, Fox News is this, and of course MSNBC and CNN are this, but, you both play the game, and then they always want to know what media can do differently. But quite frankly, that structure is set up because people are viewing it, and people they are pulled toward it because they like the divide, and they like to be reinforced in their own beliefs. But I will say this. When you have somebody like, for example, a Joe Rogan, who does have conversations on both sides of the aisle, there is one side that wants to cancel him, and the man's not even a conservative. We don't know what he is, but he has conversations with people from both sides of the aisle. And which side wants to cancel him? So when I hear about that and I hear, this side, yeah, you guys are Republican, and yeah, this side is Democrat, but you guys are Republican too. Yeah, but we also support other people's ability to speak on our side. And if we ever didn't, that would be a huge problem. But I rarely see conservatives that say, cancel that person, shut that person down, take their platform. Conservatives just don't say it because we say we believe we have a superior message so we can hear more messages. And if conservatives ever stop doing that, I would be furious because I believe that that's what we should all do. But I think there's more of, let's not limit conversation, let's not limit speech. It's easy to just point at the mainstream media, but we've allowed cancel culture to happen, and it's not just the mainstream media that does it. It's the social media mobs that have become very good and have streamlined an approach to ruining people's lives and careers over faux outrage and just the sick, twisted desire to take something from someone else because they disagree with them. And that, I think, is where we need to address the problem. It's in censorship, and it's in shadow banning, and it's in deplatforming and canceling. That's where I'd like to see a change.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So excited to have you here, Al. I can't even, I have to continue my assignment. Oh my goodness. So my question for you is similar to other questions that have been asked. When I look for models, role models that is, in the media of women that I want to be like, I had a crazy realization over the past year when I considered people I esteem, whether that's through history or in media or in movies or whatever, they're men. They're men. And when I look at women in media or in histothey either calcify